Hi, my name is Neha, and I'm going to be talking about Bill 21. So, Bill 21 is a new legislation that bans public workers in positions of authority from wearing religious symbols, specifically while they're on duty. So, I will be speaking against Bill 21. So, Bill 21 was originally a bill that was legislating employees from wearing exclusive political symbols. However, it was argued that religion is political, which is why the bill is extending legislation to include religious symbols into the bill. So, Bill 21 is the government's fourth attempt in the past decade to introduce religious neutrality to the province. The bill is not a surprise to the public, as it is one of the main campaign promises of the Coalition Avenir Quebec Party. Premier Legault has promised to adopt a secularism charter within his first year in office, and that would plan to ban state employees from wearing conspicuous religious symbols while at work. So firstly, the bill's main objective is to protect the citizens, especially students, on the basis of freedom of conscience. They believe that religion can have political aspects, which is why they think it is unnecessary to subject students, or just other citizens for that matter, to unnecessary political/religious publicity. However, this is incorrect to combine both politics and religion because the two are vastly different. The bill also discriminates against the working class because not everyone is subjected to these rules. Because there are exemptions, it can cause disparities in the workplace, as others are discriminated against and then others aren't. These exemptions are called grandfather clauses, which mean that the state that employees were previously working before the bill is enforced and don't need to remove their religious symbols, but then the newly hired employees do. So the Quebec government is therefore forcing their politics on all Quebecers by forcing people to dress contrary to their own private beliefs. And this law discriminates against people currently working in the public sector and the youth who aspire to be working in those careers. So, Bill 21 was based on the four postulates: religious neutrality of the state, the separation of religion and the state, the equality of all citizens, and freedom of conscience and religion. So, these four postulates further establish the bill's intended purpose, which is religious neutrality. And many who are in favor of the bill argue that the bill isn't discriminatory, as it doesn't single out a certain group as it pertains to all religions, and that I think they believe that discriminatory means that it's targeting one group of people, and this bill is targeting everybody. So they also like to argue that the bill is being enforced in all aspects, as the National Assembly is required to remove the crucifix in the main chamber because of the bill. However, this is not inherently true. While the bill does pertain to all religion, it cleverly affects immigrants whose religions carry visible symbols. So these symbols cannot be removed, such being a hijab, a turban, a kippah, etc. This bill targets these religions, and they intentionally favor Christianity because Christianity does not have a symbol that is clearly visible to everybody, like a cross. Also, on Chapter 3 of the bill, it defines that workers are required to uncover their face. So this is a direct attack on the Muslim faith for women, especially who wear niqabs. And yes, while it is required for the National Assembly to take down the crucifix, the members of the Assembly are exempted from this bill. So technically, they're making a bill for the public sector, yet the public sector that are making the bill in the National Assembly are not required to partake in this bill, which is unfair. Not to mention, this bill is also against immigrants in particular because Premier Francis Legault has made promises, and in his campaign he will lower immigration and make more barriers for immigrants so that Quebec can stay a French nation and they won't have to integrate with other societies and groups of people. So this bill technically is just a more in-depth way for him to partake in his promises of lowering immigration, because this would make it harder for immigrants to want to come to Quebec. Because if you follow a certain religion and you heavily follow that religion, why would you want to immigrate to a place where you won't be able to fully follow your religion and to practice your religion without any disparities from that? So that's just another way for Premier Francis Legault to lower immigration in Quebec. Not to mention, Bill 21 goes against our right of freedom of expression and religion and our right to make our own choices without the government interfering. The Canadian principle of religious neutrality states that governments have to remain impartial on religion, neither favoring nor disfavoring any belief. So this therefore means that it is unconstitutional for Quebec to tell its citizens what the right religion is. So Quebec cannot be religious and they also cannot be irreligious. They must treat every religious group equally. Important to note, though, that while being confronted with concern from the opposing side, Premier Francis Legault showed a lack of empathy and care for these minority groups and emphasized that the bill is consistent with the views of Quebecers and that the state is better off religiously neutral. By saying all of this, he is enabling racism and discrimination in the state, and this is very harmful because it can just cause serious issues. He also stated that this bill is favoring women of the Muslim faith because he believes that their religion forces them to dress a certain way, and he thinks that this bill can be like an escape for these women to get away from their radical religion. So it is just clear that those who are in favor of the bill don't actually have a deeper knowledge of these religions and their practices that the bill is affecting. His statement about Muslim women is very incorrect, as no religion forces you to do anything, and Muslim women who wear a covering choose to do this and are not required to. It is bad that the politicians who are making all these new legislations are not actually researching the people that they will be affecting. And the women who choose to wear scarves, hats, or turbans should have a right to freedom of expression and religion and to make their own choices without the government interfering, like all people in Canada do. The Quebec government is, however, very aware of how this bill is discriminatory and is not a good representation of the province. Yet, a poll that was taken by Quebecers showed that 64% approve of the bill and 35% voted they disapprove. So despite a large majority of the Quebec population in favor of the bill, the UN has voiced concern to Quebec that Bill 21 has overstepped the freedom that the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights is protecting. So the rights that the covenant protects is right to life, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, electoral rights, and a right to a fair trial. Also, not to mention, the Montreal Mayor, Valerie Plante, has announced that the bill does not correlate with the values of Montreal and they do not agree with it. The values of Montreal are human dignity, justice, peace, equality, transparency, and democracy. So this just shows that, like, Montreal, which is one of the biggest cities in Quebec, is telling the actual Quebec government, like, we do not agree with this at all, like, it is not in line with our morals, yet they're still going along with it, and even the UN is telling them that they're overstepping with other people's rights, and they're still going along with it, even though they know that it is wrong. So, as can be seen, although Bill 21's original purpose was religious neutrality and equality of all people, it ended up being discriminatory to the working class because of its exemption clause. It is also discriminatory to immigrants and minority groups because the bill favors religions more evident in European or like white culture, so thus being Christianity. And the political party enforcing this bill does not have its people's best interest in mind despite the UN interfering. Thank you.